Hello again. Welcome to the 10-minute Bible lesson. We finally made it. Made what? We finally made to the end of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. We've had 26 10-minute Bible lessons so far about Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and today will be number 27. It'll be the last one. And that's a lot. But we have to think of this, that Jesus' sermon is the greatest sermon that's ever been preached. And so it's worthy of our study. And not only our study, but to apply it to our life. So it's so important. So let's take a look and see how Jesus concludes his sermon. It's really good. I think you're going to like it. It's in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 and 25. Here's what he says. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. And it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. Now, I just think that's pretty good, that Jesus is the rock. He's the unshakable, unmovable rock. And you know what? That includes his teachings as well. Now listen, if our house is built upon his teaching, then it will be built upon a solid foundation. It'll be built upon a rock. So a good question for us to ask ourselves is, how is our house? How is your house? Is it in good shape? I think that's a good question. Is it built upon a solid rock? Yes or no? Well, let me just encourage you, just in case it's not built upon Jesus' teaching, you still have a chance. Because aren't you glad that we have chances to make things right? Maybe we built it in the wrong things. We can still build it on the right things. So you still have an opportunity. So my house, or the house that Jesus is referring to, is not really a house made of brick and wood, is it? No, I would say it's Tom's house. That is to say, it is my house. It's my own life. The life that I've been living and the life that I've kind of built up. That is my house. That's Tom's house. So has that life or that house been based on Jesus' teachings? That's a great question. I certainly hope that it has. And if it has, there's some really positive things from it. What are the positive things? Jesus says he would liken us unto a wise man. So we want to be wise, don't we? And not only that, but he says this, he says that when the difficulties and trials of life come, that house will be able to stand and endure. Well, let's go on and see what else Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 26 and 27. Here's the other side to what Jesus said. He says, but everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. Jesus is saying here it's not enough just to hear what his teachings are. Now, hearing is really important, but it's not enough. I know James said this in his book, James 1, verse 22. He said, but be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. It's important to hear, but it's also really, really important to put it into practice. God help us to do that. God help us not only to hear, but to take it in and to apply it to our house. Now listen, if we only hear, our house will not be built upon a solid foundation, but it'll be built, according to Jesus, it'll be built upon sand. And surely difficulties will come. That's what it means when it said the wind blew and the rain came and it beat against. That's talking about trials and difficulties that come in our life. Listen, those come to everyone. You can't live in this life for any number of years without difficulties and hardships coming. No, none of us like that. But how do we get through that? We get through it by building our life on what Jesus taught. So we need to ask ourselves, have we built our house upon the teachings of Jesus? If we have, then our life and our house will certainly stand. But if we haven't, it will certainly fall, according to Jesus. And not only did he say it'll fall, but he said it'll be a great thing. And truly, it is a great thing because Jesus considers every person's life valuable, and important. And when a life fails, or when a life falls, and there are many that fall and fail, it's a great thing. It's a great thing to God. It's a great thing to Jesus. It's a horrific thing. Who wants to live this life, to be born, live your life, and die, and then die in a sense where your whole house has fallen apart? We don't want to do that. That's why we need to build our house upon the teachings of Jesus. So we just need to understand how important it is to follow him. Well, let's look at the last two verses of this sermon, or of this passage, in Matthew 7, verses 28 and 29. And so it was, when Jesus had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teaching. For he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. They were astonished at his teachings. We should be astonished at his teachings because he teaches as one who has authority. What kind of authority does Jesus have? Listen, Jesus is God come in the flesh. So his words are God's words. That's how much authority that he has. And you know what? You and I should be astonished and amazed at his wonderful teachings and apply them to our life. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this series that we've had. It's been a really long one, and we'll start a new topic next time. We're thinking about and we're planning on looking at some of the Psalms. So until that time, we hope you have a really good week, and you'll join us next time.